William McCaskill at 240-724-4494. I'd like to represent you.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. Flames erupting as California's holy fire explodes in size, closing in on homes and neighborhoods. Our team right there.
These flames have raced up this hillside. Check out just how close they are to this home.
Plus, the moment the man who allegedly started this blaze is arrested by police. This, as now prison inmates are being enlisted to help fight the fire. New images of that deadly police shooting. The young officer running after a suspect, shooting him in the back. What the police chief is now saying. President Trump's call for a space force. The vice president and the Pentagon launching plans to establish a new military service for space. Will Congress give it the green light? Plus, the ABC News exclusive. The last known person claiming to have seen that missing Iowa college student before she disappeared. And the 16-year-old girl shoved off a bridge, falling into the water 60 feet below, breaking ribs, puncturing a lung. Tonight, from the hospital, talking about how she survived.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us on a busy Thursday night. I'm Tom Yamas, in for David. And we begin with the fire threat in the West and new evacuations happening right now. The holy fire in California's Orange and Riverside counties racing across the hills, closing in on neighborhoods and homes. You see it right there in the backyard of that home. New evacuations ordered just moments ago. And this man, seen confronting firefighters on Monday, is suspected of arson, now under arrest, charged with 6 felonies. Military troops and even prison inmates are being enlisted to help in the battle. And tonight, the fires have claimed yet another life. ABC's Will Carr is at the holy fire tonight.
Tonight, the holy fire making a run, threatening hundreds of homes, the fire exploding, now incinerating nearly 10,000 acres, more than 20,000 residents forced to evacuate. This fire has made a serious run. You can see those flames racing up this hillside. Check out just how close we are to homes in this area. We have firefighters up here standing their ground, doing everything they can to protect these homes. You can see them spraying these flames down. Homeowner Don Spurline watching the flames scorch the terrain just feet away from his home. Authorities say that this was started on purpose by an arsonist. What would your message be to that guy?
That guy, well, some stuff probably can't say on television.
The man accused of starting this blaze, Forrest Clark, now charged with 6 felonies, including aggravated arson, reportedly sending an email to authorities that read, "This place will burn." Cameras catching Clark in the fire zone on Monday.
Forrest, so do you know how this fire started?
I have no idea. I was asleep. I had 2 earplugs in.
More than 600 firefighters now on the front lines, prison inmates joining the fight, trying to cut a fire line through brush coated with fire retardant. This as those risky nighttime aerial assaults continue, crews setting back fires on the ground to control the blaze's spread.
It can get dangerous, but with everything in the fire service, everything's a calculated risk.
The holy fire, one of 12 large fires scorching the state. Tragically, the Carr fire in Northern California claiming its 8th life. A Cal Fire mechanic killed in a traffic accident.
And Will Carr joins us now from the front lines. Will, we saw those homeowners right there by the flames. Are they listening to those evacuation orders? And from your vantage point tonight, does it look like things are getting more dire?
Tom, some people decided to stay and fight, and you can see tonight their community is painted red. I want to walk you over here. There's a thick plume of smoke behind those homes tonight. This fire really made a tremendous run over the past couple of hours. This is evidence that this battle is far from over. Tom.
Will Carr right there in the fire line for us tonight. Will, thank you. We do move on now to the deadly police shooting in Nashville. It began with a traffic stop. Take a look. Surveillance video shows the officer who is white chasing a man who is black. The officer appearing to shoot that man in the back, killing him. Tonight, the police chief is speaking out and expressing concern about the release of that video. Here's ABC Steve Osunsami.
Nashville's police chief tonight says that this surveillance video of one of his officers shooting a black suspect in the back is disturbing, but says if it were up to him, he wouldn't have released it this early in the investigation.
That video alone does not tell us what we need to know. We'll have to rely on other evidence to do that.
Prosecutors say they're sharing the video to throw sunshine on the case, and they had to. The video came from a nearby school and wasn't a secret. As you see here, it's clear that 25-year-old Daniel Hambrick is running away from Officer Andrew Delkey, who is also 25. There's distance between the two, and you see the officer shoot at Hambrick's back. As Hambrick was dying, police recovered what they say was his handgun. The chief, speaking to WKRN Channel 2 in Nashville, says there's more to the story.
There's a lot of activity that's not filmed.
This all started with a traffic stop where police were searching for a stolen vehicle.
My daughter is now thinking that the police is the enemy.
The family of the shooting victim says the officer should be charged.
If there's ever a case of premeditated first-degree murder, this is it. This is it. He stops and takes his time and makes sure he gets a good shot.
All right, Steve Osunsami joins us now live. And Steve, while prosecutors decide whether or not to press charges, the police chief tonight is saying he will take a look at how officers are trained.
That's right, Tom. The police chief says he's already sent a note to the police academy telling them that they'll soon discuss whether they need new instructions for officers as to what they should do during a foot chase. This officer remains on administrative leave while the investigation continues. Tom.
Steve Osunsami live for us tonight. Steve, thank you. Another big story we're following tonight, the new details about that remote compound in the New Mexico desert and what led authorities to make the grim discovery of children and adults living in horrific conditions. Tonight, investigators are looking closely at the claim that the children were being trained to commit school shootings. ABC's Clayton Sandell is at that compound tonight.
Tonight, a look inside the filthy and remote New Mexico compound where authorities say 11 children lived in horrific conditions and where one probably died.
The smell is just overpowering.
39-year-old Siraj Wahaj and 4 other adults, now in custody, were living here with the children, but police say there was no food, electricity, or clean water.
And this is like a fortress.
Yeah. The local sheriff and FBI began surveillance here in May, looking for Wahaj and his 3-year-old son Abdul, who was reported missing last December. But the sheriff says there wasn't enough evidence for a search until last week.
Last Thursday, somebody with great knowledge of the compound sent a message saying basically that we are starving and the children are starving.
That is when authorities made a grisly discovery.
We did find remains of a young boy. We discovered the remains yesterday on Abdul's 4th birthday.
The compound was illegally built on Jason Badger's land. He says authorities did not act fast enough.
There's no excuse. If something could have been done to save that child, then, it should have been done. They should have acted sooner.
Police say they discovered an arsenal of weapons, including an AR-15 rifle and handguns. The foster parent of one child telling authorities Wahaj had trained the child in the use of an assault rifle in preparation for future school shootings.
An attorney for Wahaj denies that he was training school shooters here. He and the other adults are now facing multiple charges, including child abuse. He has not entered a plea. Tom.
Clayton Sandell tonight with that alarming discovery in the desert. All right, Clayton, we turn now to Washington and the cosmos. President Trump's dream of a new space force coming into focus. At the Pentagon today, Vice President Pence laid the groundwork for the potential new military service. It's designed to confront threats in space. So how will it be different from other programs already in place to do that? Here's ABC's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent, Martha Raddatz.
Donald Trump has been enthusiastically advocating for a Space Force as a separate branch of the military.
We are going to have the Air Force and we are going to have the Space Force. Separate but equal.
There are very real security threats in space. The U.S. has a vast array of military, intelligence, and communication satellites with sensors that track anything from missiles to driving directions on your phones. And those could indeed be vulnerable. We already have a space command under the Air Force, with 30,000 personnel working on keeping our space assets safe. So some believe a new Space Force would just add a layer of bureaucracy that is not needed. But the Trump team is already turning this into a political cause, today asking supporters to vote for their favorite Space Force logo, intending to sell a line of merchandise to support the Trump campaign. And as popular as that merchandise could be, for now, a new Space Force is just a proposal. It would take an act of Congress to create a new branch of the military. Tom?
Martha Raddatz for us. Martha, thank you. We want to head overseas now to Yemen, a deadly toll in that country's bitter civil war. An airstrike by the U.S.-backed Saudi-led coalition on rebel territory destroyed this bus carrying children on a school trip. More than 24 children among the dead. ABC senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell reporting once again on one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world.
Tonight, carnage in Yemen as the Saudi coalition bombs a packed market, killing 29 children, wounding another 30. They were in a school bus heading to a picnic. This young boy is carried in with a head wound. They gently remove his school bag as he cries, "They hit my head, they hit my head." Yemen's a country suffering the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Thousands are dead, millions near starvation, and two warring sides accused of war crimes, as we saw when we visited earlier this year.
You can see the intensity of the battles that were fought here.
This isn't the first attack on civilians, and despite talk of peace, it won't be the last.
Tom, the Pentagon tonight says the US military was not directly involved in those airstrikes, but it won't say if American bombs, intelligence and fuel it gives to Saudi were used. This latest attack on civilians, including so many children killed, will raise more questions about that US support. Tom?
Ian Pannell tonight with that horrific attack. All right, Ian, thank you. Back here at home into Puerto Rico, a much higher death toll on the island after Hurricane Maria than was first reported. The original and official tally stands at 64 dead. But tonight, the government now estimates that number could be more than 1,400. Governor Ricardo Rossello has commissioned a scientific study from the George Washington University School of Public Health. That report is due out in the coming weeks. Next to a heartbreaking discovery for a police chief in Union City, California, after authorities released surveillance video of a cruel attack. Two young men stomping a 71-year-old man, the officer realizing one of those young men was his own son and stepping forward to identify him. ABC's Marcus Moore with that video and a warning, it is disturbing.
Shocking security video capturing the brutal, broad daylight beating of 71-year-old Sahib Singh Nat as he walked in a park in Manteca, California. Watch as two suspects appear to confront the elderly sick man. Moments later, his body folding over from a vicious kick to the torso. Look as one of the teenage suspects comes back to kick Nat while he's down, even appearing to spit on him.
Everybody's scared, me, everybody.
The community stunned and desperate to help, including nearby Union City Police Chief Daryl McAllister, who would soon help investigators identify his very own son, Tyrone, as one of the suspects. The police chief writing on Facebook, quote, "Words can barely describe how embarrassed, dejected, and hurt my wife, daughters, and I feel right now. It's difficult for us to comprehend how one of 3 kids who grew up with the same parents, under the same roof, with the same rules and same values and character, could wander so far astray." And Tom, McAllister and that 16-year-old suspect are facing several charges, including attempted robbery and elder abuse. But authorities are also looking into whether this was a hate crime. Tom.
Marcus, thank you. Next to an ABC News exclusive on the search for that missing Iowa college student, Molly Tibbetts, who vanished 3 weeks ago after going out for a run. Tonight, we're hearing from a neighbor who says he saw her jogging by his house just before she disappeared. ABC's Alex Perez back on the story tonight.
Tonight, we're hearing from Devin Riley, who says he could be one of the last people to have seen Molly Tibbetts before she vanished 3 weeks ago.
It's probably about 8:30, I would say. And I remember seeing her jog.
In an exclusive interview with ABC News, Riley says he was sitting on his porch with his daughter that night.
I remember what she was wearing.
Authorities won't comment on witnesses, but Riley says he was questioned by investigators who searched his home. Molly seen here just a day before she went missing. So far, investigators have interviewed some 300 people, including Wayne Cheney, who was convicted of stalking in 2014. But Cheney says he never met Molly and has cooperated with police.
Tom, Cheney has not been named a suspect in the case. Investigators say they are following up on more than 2,000 tips they've received so far. Tom?
Alex Perez with the new developments in that case. Alex, thank you. First Lady Melania Trump's parents are among America's newest citizens tonight. Victor and Amalia Knopf were sworn in at federal court here in New York. Sources tell ABC News it was Melania Trump who sponsored their green card applications that led to their eligibility for citizenship. That family sponsorship program is the very pathway long opposed by their son-in-law, the president, who calls it chain migration. And there's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. Inside the terrifying moments, a bus flips over on the highway. The new images just released. The bus driver losing control during the crash. That bus landing on its side. A passenger trying to help out.